It's a beautiful day today, isn't it? A nice little late afternoon of October. Just everything looks fine. There's good air, good a good smell in the air. Yes, that nice smell of mid autumn. Just so nice, and the colors and uh, and everything. There's my baby sister in the other room who's doing her homeworks. Everything is fine and peachy. Yes. Aoni was an RPG Maker horror game that was released a few years ago. I don't know exactly when, but that's not important. What's important to know is that this was an extremely popular game in its time, and in Japan specifically, it was so popular it generated its own fan community with its own fan games. Hundreds upon hundreds, apparently. And at some point, 2014, there was a live action adaptation of it, which I've seen. Hence my reaction. So, one thing you need to know about Aoni as a whole is that it's about this group of friends with really token-ish personalities that are trapped inside this mansion with this blueberry-colored, ludicrous looking demon guy with this disproportioned prunish head, really big prunish head with this green like this. Looks really dumb. And I cannot believe anyone would take it seriously. I mean, other than his head being really big, his body is really small and it looks like a rape doll. He has this rape doll style body, like the doll, like, show me where the bad man touched you type of doll they use in trials. That's how it looks. It's not scary, not in the slightest. It's really goofy. It's not just that it looks really dumb and really not scary. Every time the monster chases you in the game, there is this violin strings going on, like ing, 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 which is basically the theme of Psycho. So the mentally challenged cousin of Cookie Monster is chasing you around with the theme of Psycho. I don't know how anybody could take this seriously, or even be scared by it. But apparently, somebody must have taken it seriously because, like I said before, a film was made. And that film was played as a straight up horror film. Not a parody, not a comedy. Straight up horror material. It's not good. It's not very good for a whole variety of reasons. In fact, it does not work as a standalone horror film, and it most definitely does not work as an adaptation of the game, because some of the choices that were made I can definitely see might offend a longtime fan of the game. A bit of background. So, other than being chased around by the Ao Oni, which literally means blue demon, Blue Demon? Freaking blueberry, cranberry, Muppet, Sesame Street monster who survived a burning incident. That's the best I can describe it. So dumb. There's also puzzle solving in those games. In the game. Also the fun games, I'm assuming. And you have a set of main characters. Correct me if I get the names wrong. There's Hiroshi, the level-headed one. There's Takuro, the leader. So it's described by the wiki, the official wiki, I believe. There's Mika, the girl, pretty much the girl. And then there's Takeshi, the coward that always hides in closets. So there isn't much in terms of personality when it comes to these characters. They are about as token as they can get. You can literally describe their entire deal with a sentence, like I just did. So clearly they needed to expand on their personalities for the film. And they did, by making them all as unlikable as possible. Like you do in a horror film, you know? You want to make your teenage characters really obnoxious so it's enjoyable when they die. Which, again, it doesn't really make for a compelling story in its own right. And so Takuro, who was the leader, turns out to be, in this film, a bully and a thug who may or may not be responsible for a certain event that occurred in the film. And Mika is his girlfriend, and she's also very much the token valley girl-ish sort of my man kind of girlfriend, and not likable in the slightest. Takeshi is pretty much the same as he is in the game, coward, and not much of anything else. And there's Hiroshi, who apparently has some sort of a weird obsession with bugs, I think. So there's that. But the kicker is that this cast of characters, while they were the main characters in the game, they're not actually the main characters in the film. They are the secondary characters used as a backdrop for the real protagonists, which were made specifically for the film. And again, as an adaptation, this I can see not, standing positively with the fans. Especially since they are all used, like I said, as stepping stones for the development of said main characters. Takuro pretty much turns out to be the villain because he's a thug and a bully and possibly a drug dealer. So, woohoo! If you ever like these characters, if you ever cared about them in the game, prepare to hate them. That's, I do not care about the game, obviously. But it was not a fine watch, partly because of that. But that's not even the peak of the iceberg. Well, it is the peak of the iceberg, but it's not the entire iceberg. What I mean is that that's not the whole issue, the only issue with the film itself. No, it has plenty more. Plenty more. I'll get to them. First of all, they try to implement, as you do, certain aspects of the gameplay into the film. They did not do a good job at it, because in the game you alternate being chased by Aoni with puzzle solving in order to progress in the very minimalist, very underdeveloped story. It's basically just survive the horror, from what I've seen, and that's more or less about it. So what did they do is that they did the same thing in the film. They alternated puzzle solving with chasing scenes, and honestly, for a film, it does not work in the slightest. Because they ended up solving puzzle while they were being chased by the monster. You are being chased by a creature that wants to kill you. So what do? You stop in the middle of the chase to collect a clue to get to the next stage of the game. It's stupid. And it is furthermore stupid because none of the puzzles that you see happening are contextualized in the film itself. You don't even know exactly what the characters are doing. You wouldn't even know what the characters are doing if you had not played the game before watching the film. So these puzzles, these non-puzzles basically, are just a called back to the game, and they serve absolutely no purpose in the diegesis of the film itself. They happened because they were in the game. There is no other reason. Oh, actually, there is a reason, a very forced and tacked on reason for them to be happening, even though they are completely missable. It's because apparently, and this is something that you better hold yourself in your seat, because this is quite a reveal, you guys, that I'm going to spoil to you right now. It's really not much of a spoiler to begin with. Apparently, every character in the cast is stuck in this house because it's supposed to be an actual indie RPG Maker horror game that one of the characters have made. I cannot even be bothered to remember the name of the character, but this character developed a RPG Maker horror game within the film. He showed said game to the girl he likes, which is the real main heroine, by the way. And then that game basically becomes the quote-unquote setting of the film, as the characters get stuck in this spooky jailhouse, which looks like really a run-of-the-mill condo from the outside, and once you get on the inside, everything is so dark and poorly lit, it fails to create an atmosphere of claustrophobia, and it succeeds instead of becoming really increasingly annoying to look at. So there's that to add to the mix of problems that this film has. Also, of course, the game that the guy develops ends up being pretty much the obligatory foreshadowing for the resolution of the game, so to speak. So, according to this film, this character created the game of Aoni within the universe of the film, which then it became reality. Except it ultimately didn't, because of what happens in the ending, which seems to reset everything and suggest that this was all either a dream meant to represent the very Silent Hill-esque sense of guilty conscience that the main heroine had because of the death of her brother. It's really not that interesting, trust me. So it's either a dream or it really happened and she literally just beat the game, and the reward was being sent back to a certain point in the story so that she can actually redo a mistake. She is sent back to a previous save game of life, basically, in order to correct a mistake that she made. Riveting storytelling, by the way. Oh, and let's talk about the editing part of this poorly put together film, because it is poorly put together. And there are several moments, in fact the climax is full of these lovely moments, in which somebody has this brilliant idea of just taking the camera, like so, placing it on the characters, like so, like really tied up to their bodies, and showing them from this grand angle, like so that when they run around the house, the film looks like this. Are you as amused as I am? That's just one example of really bad editing, though. Everything else is pretty underwhelming, too. But, guys, I've kept the best for the main event, because let's talk about how the titular Blue Demon looks in the film. Because, as I said before, this one wants to be a straight-up horror, even though, really, the basic concept of the game itself does not work as a horror because the monster looks so silly. So what did they do? They actually went on and tried. They tried to make Aoni look scary. They failed. It's a blueberry monster. It will never look scary, no matter how hard you try. In fact, the more you try to make it look ugly and menacing, the more goofy and silly he will look in return. And that's exactly what it looks like. It looks completely silly, ridiculous, and stupid. Somehow even more than his gaming counterpart. This film is a train wreck in all departments. Let me tell you. It's just... At the end of it, considering the actual plot of the film, the monster himself seems so accidental to it. This could have literally been a film about anything else. And the blue monster is just... It feels out of place because of that. So that's Aoni, the film. Apparently it was successful because it had a sequel, which I'm not going to bother with. Especially since I've seen the poster for it. No. Just no. You should skip this one. I mean, it's not even so bad it's funny. It's just dull at the end of it. I mean, you might get a laugh at seeing how the actual monster looks like, but it's just sad, really. Really sad. The game is hilarious, though. For all the wrong reasons. In fact, I would suggest you to check out instead the newest animated series of Aoni, because yes! This one gets an animated series! Not Ib, not The Witch's House, Aoni. What a world to live in. The anime gets it. It's completely humorous. It's a complete spoof and parody of its source material. And it's honestly what Aoni should have been to begin with. And really, the goofy appearance of the monster actually lends itself pretty well for that kind of humor. So check out the animated series, don't bother with the film. Play the game to get a laugh or two if you really have to, but I don't particularly care about that either. Other than that, yeah. I haven't done this vlog format for review in quite some time. I need to rectify that. So next time I come back with my beautiful face on, with this beard and this hair and this probably something else I'll be wearing, I don't know. We'll see. I'll be reviewing something that hopefully turns out to be actually justified in its cult following. See you next time.